Hi, welcome. Today we're going to talk about electronics components. So we're going to get a quick preview of them, and then when you get back to school, we are going to be playing with each of them to see them. We have kind of three things that we need to know. We're going to need to know what the name of it is. You'll be able to recognize it. You'll have to know what it does, and then finally you're going to have to know if it has polarity. What polarity is, polarity means that a component has a side that's positive and a side that's negative. So if you remember from biology, water is polar. Part of it is more, the one side is more of a positive charge, the other side is a negative charge. That's exactly what polarity is. One side that is positive and one side that is negative. You're pretty used to a battery being this way. We are going to be hooking things up to a battery. We know that one side of a battery, you always have to put them in the right way. One side's positive, one side's negative. For us, battery's going to be attached to it with red and black little cords that will eventually solder into place, melt them into place. What we have to remember is the red side of the cord is positive, and the black one is going to be the negative piece. So we'll hook them up to the battery so that the red and the black go together with the battery. Okay, so here are all the different electronics components that we're going to run into in our kits that we need to know. The first one here, this is called a resistor. Usually it's a tan body with 4 colored stripes along it. They can't write the numbers, so that they have these little colored lines that you have to then key out in order to figure out how much resistance it's providing. Occasionally, the body of it is blue with the colored lines over it as well, but most of the time it is tan. The purpose of a resistor in a circuit is to slow down or oppose, working against the current. The resistor does not have polarity, so it does not matter which side is positive and negative. When you get a circuit board and you put it in, you can put it in whichever direction, you can flip it around, it doesn't matter. A diode is going to act as a conductor one direction and an insulator in the other direction. So pretty much what it does is the current flows through it. One side of the diode allows it to flow through it easily, that's a conductor. Well, one side of it, if it hits that side, it causes it to not travel through it well, and that's an insulator. So pretty much what it does is it allows the current to only flow in one direction. So in this case, you do have to put it in the correct way. So if you put it in and the negative side is in the wrong side, the current won't be able to flow through it, it stops it. So what we have to figure out is which side is negative. We have 2 different types of diodes, actually 3 when we get down here, but 2 right here. They are either black with a silver stripe, or they're kind of orange with a black stripe. Either way, there's a stripe on it. That is going to show you the negative side. So yes, it has polarity, and it's going to have a stripe. It will be it'll be black or silver is the main color of the stripe. So all you do is you find the little stripe on it, and that's the negative side, and on a circuit board it'll show you where to put that stripe. You line it up, and then you have the negative faced in the right direction. An electrolytic capacitor, these are both capacitors, they just do different things. One is electrolytic and one is a ceramic capacitor. Both of their job is they store charge or they store electrons. So they take the current, they store it up, and then they release it when it's time for it to go through. Okay, the ceramic capacitor is the one that looks like a penny. And this one has no polarity, so you can twist it around, put it in whichever direction that you can get it in. The electrolytic capacitor, it does have polarity. So this one, yes, it has polarity. And these guys, they all look a little bit different. So when you're trying to find the negative side, every once in a while, there's a stripe on it that has a negative sign. So the negative sign is a good way to find which side is negative. Occasionally they have, so this has both of the legs coming out opposite ends. sometimes they set it up so both legs are coming downwards, and then there's always a shorter leg. The shorter leg is always the negative side. And then finally, every once in a while, they don't have either of those things, but they have a little part on it where it's a cylinder, but then there's like a little neck on it where it gets skinnier and then it gets bigger again. I just call it the neck. Any of those three things can be used, and you'll see examples of all of them. So you just have to pay attention that if you've got one of these blue and black electrolytic capacitors, sometimes they're orange and black as well, there could be a negative sign, a shorter leg, or a little cinched in neck that will help you find the negative side. And we'll practice with all of them. Going back to diodes, I should have put this right underneath it. We have a special type of diode that also has a light on it, and it is called an LED. So LED stands for light emitting diode, which means a diode is something that allows the current to flow just in one direction, but at the same time, it gives off light. Well, it doesn't. That's the purpose of an LED, gives off light while it acts as a diode. Yes, it does have polarity. There's going to be two ways for us to find it. This also has two legs that go down. There's always a shorter leg. That will be the negative side, the shorter leg. And the circuit boards, when you put in LEDs, there's always going to be one round thing, and it'll have a little side of it that's flat. If you look at an LED from the top, they shave off one side of it so that it's not a perfectly round circle. One side is slightly shaved off, so it's a little bit flat. That also symbolizes the negative side. So flat side from above. So if you actually look down at an LED light, it won't be perfectly round. One side of it will be slightly flattened where they shave it off, and you'll be able to match that up on a circuit board. Our last couple of things, a transistor. The transistor, our goal for here is it is used as a switch because it adjusts the voltage and the current in the circuit. So it can turn on and off a circuit, so we use it as the on-off switch in most of our circuits. For the transistor, you'll see two main types. One of them is a little black semicircle with three legs coming down. The semicircle, from the top, it looks like this. So yes, it has polarity. The flat side, you'll line it up. That will show you the negative side for it, so it won't be a perfect circle from up above either. And then occasionally you have these silver ones, and they have this little tab that sticks out. So if that's the kind that you have, then on your circuit board, it will have a little tab on the circuit board, and you just line up the tab with the tab. And finally, we have this little guy that looks like a spider. Sometimes it has 8 legs, sometimes it has 12 legs, sometimes they have 24 legs, it just depends. But pretty much what this is it's an entire circuit all inside of it. It's got transistors, diodes, capacitors, resistors, everything is already inside of it, so it kind of acts as the brain of your circuit. It's telling the circuit what to do. If you put this in backwards, nothing that you do will ever work. So this is we have to be really, really careful to make sure that the things that have polarity, we get them in the correct way. Yes, it has polarity. It will have a notch dug out of it, so it'll just have like a little scoop out of the plastic that you can see, or sometimes it just has a little dot imprinted in it. And you can kind of see the notch right there. Then you'll have on your circuit board, it will show you where to put that, and then it'll have a little notch on the circuit board, and you just make sure to line that up so that you get them in the right direction. Okay, so these are going to be all the different pieces that we're going to see as we put together circuit boards, and eventually then we'll learn how to solder them into place. But this week we're going to spend just learning what the name of each of the things are, what they do, and if they have a positive or a negative side. The last thing that we have to learn how to do is how to read the value of a resistor. So like I said, a resistor, it's these guys right here. It's got this body and then it has colored lines. The last color for us is almost always gold, but it could be silver. You always line it up so that the gold band is all the way over on the right side. From there, it will have 3 other colored lines before you get to the gold. Those colored lines represent numbers. If you look at the very back of your equation sheet, the bottom left says resistor decoding. Okay, this is what we're going to need in order to figure out which resistor has how much resistance on it. All right, so here's how it works. The first band of color gives you the first digit. So let's say it was yellow. You go to the band color yellow, you go over to the digit, it says 4, so you know the first number in the resistance is a 4. Same thing with the second band, it gives you the second digit, so you look at your 2 colors, you get your 2 digits. Then lastly, the third color tells you what to multiply it by. Do you multiply it by 1, by 10, by 100? How many zeros do you need to have after it? All right, and then finally the last color, almost always gold for us, it's telling you the percent error. So it is at this number plus or minus either 5% or 10%, depending on if it's gold or silver. We don't really deal with that very much, we just have to be able to find the correct ones. So example 1, let's say you have a resistor that is yellow, red, brown, and then gold. Then you need to find the value. So the first thing you do is you go to your first digit is yellow, so you go over to the digit, it tells you that's a 4. Then the second color is red, so you go down to red, go over to digit, it tells you that is a 2. The third color is brown, the third one always tells you the multiplier. So you go over to brown, skip the digit, go over the multiplier, it tells you to multiply it by 10, brown is times 10. And then gold is telling you it's plus or minus 5%. So this is a 2-digit number, 42. Then you multiply it by 10, so you get 420 plus or minus 5% error. Okay, so it's pretty much telling you it is 520 ohms is the resistance for that particular resistor. Okay, what if it was green, blue, orange, gold? All right, so I go to green, that digit is a 5. Then I go to blue, that digit is a 6. Okay, I have my 2-digit number, 56. Now I need to figure out what to multiply it by. I go to orange, I go over to multiplier. It tells me to multiply it by 1,000. So I take 56, multiply it by 1,000. I get 56,000 ohms. And then plus or minus 5% would be what the gold is. If we do one more, red, purple, brown, gold, try it, pause the video for just a second, see if you can figure it out, and then come back and check it. Red is a 2, purple is a 7, brown is a multiplier of times 10, so we have 27 times 10 is 270 ohms, and then gold plus or minus 5%. We might even drop those out, the plus or minus 5%. And finally, example 2, if you need a resistor that has a value of 530,000 ohms, what colors would it be? Okay, well my 2-digit number is 53, so I go to 5, that is green. I go to 3, that is orange. I need to multiply 53 by 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So I find my column that has 4 zeros in it with a 1, so that's 10,000. So then I go over, and that tells me that the multiplier for 10,000 is yellow. And then the last color will be gold because it's plus or minus 5%. Okay? When you get back to class, you are going to actually have a cup of all of these different components, and you're going to take them out and look at them one by one to kind of see them. You're going to have resistors in your bag. You're going to look at them, get the different resistances for them, look at the difference between the different types of electrolytic capacitors, the transistors, the different types of diodes, the integrated circuit, and then you're actually going to look at a circuit board. We'll have places for all of these things, and you'll line them up so that you can kind of see how they need to go in so that we practice before you actually do it in order to make sure everything works. Thank you so much.